Way back into the distant past, when Pete was like 15, he joined a mail-in movie club, 11 days for pennies. And now cut to 2025, the movie club caught on to Pete's life, and now they want to punish him, so they trapped him in a room with a bunch of movie tapes. Pete didn't want to pay for the movies he got in the 90s. He'll have to watch random horror tapes and tell us about gore and probably some rape. Now keep in mind, Pete didn't pick. They use random numbers and a long list. He's got to get through every movie, one each day for the time we can't foresee. Helpful snowman roll call. Anxiety. Grouchiness, entropy, snow. If you're wondering why he did this song and other FAQ facts, just shut up and listen to this show, or fuck it, take a nice nap. It's Helpful Snowman Podoween 2025.
Okay, everybody. Today we have a movie called Ikenie Man. And it is the best one so far, by far. The story is kind of like this. A small group of people go into the woods, and they're going to film a teaser for a horror movie called Ikenie Man. It's a very by the numbers Friday the 13th kind of slasher thing. It's a Japanese movie. So I'm not sure if this is how film works in Japan. What they're trying to do is film a trailer. You make the trailer, you take it to investors, and they're like, oh, this looks dope. Then they invest in it. And then you get to make the movie. But maybe that's how it works in Japan. I don't know. Also, maybe this is how it works in America. I don't actually know. I don't know how anyone has the money to do anything or how they get the money to do anything. I could barely keep a 47th rate podcast going. So I'm not one to comment on the realism of that. So the film crew and the actors, they're out in the woods, they're filming a couple scenes or whatever, and they all kind of agree the movie doesn't have much spark to it. You know what I mean? It's not going great. It's cliche bullshit where teens get slashed up in the woods by a guy in a mask, which you're like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty fair. That's a good assessment of what's going on. So they come across a group of people who are camping, and what they decide to do is kind of terrorize those campers and get realistic footage so they can make their trailer, right? You get that footage, you get those real reactions, you get that money, you make the full movie, and then I guess you become super rich and then do whatever it is the ultra wealthy people in Japan do. My guess is it's some similar bullshit to what Americans and Europeans do, but maybe with some special Japanese bullshit thrown in for good measure. Okay, I just looked it up. It sounds like rich Japanese people buy nice cars, which sounds about right, and spend a lot of money on luxury travel, which, I guess fair enough. I mean, I don't know what I was hoping to hear they did. Japanese people did figure out how to have bathrooms in train stations that are not a fucking nightmare, worse than peeing in an alley. It's well, I could pee in this train station bathroom, or I could just piss my pants. You know what I mean? Or piss in an alley and risk getting arrested for sexual crime, even though it's what choice did I have? Realistically, you know what I mean? But they've created bathrooms that don't put you in that scenario. So I guess maybe I thought they'd figured out something interesting to do with money too. But it sounds like, vroom vrooms, resort life, all that kind of same shit. So anyway, our heroes go to terrorize campers. And then it turns out the campers are actual murderers. And they're out in the woods. They brought some people out into the woods to kill. And then they were like, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and kill these filmmakers too. How fortunate for us. Extra murder victims. You know what I mean? We didn't even have to try for this. It's like if a school bus tipped over right outside Gacy's house or something. It's all right, that kind of worked out. So what follows is what I would call a pretty fun, very bloody kind of mess. It has a lot of humor to the movie. It's a lot of the humor comes from cliches of horror. So when the filmmakers were making the original trailer, they were doing all the stuff, right? And the actors and stuff were complaining. They're like, oh, yeah, of course the car won't start, because you're making a movie. And like, of course this doesn't work because it's a movie. And they keep like, dropping things or whatever. And so then it's kind of funny because then the actual horror movie kicks in and all those things are, the car doesn't start. And it's like, oh my God. So it's like the movie gets to make fun of the tropes while also engaging in them. It's fun. It's fun in that way. It's like fun in that it's clever and it's talking about some horror tropes, but it's not like, so cute and clever about it like a Scream movie where you feel like, okay, everybody in this movie is so goddamn clever. You know what I mean? Oh, fuck off with that shit. It's also, this movie's like just under an hour, so that's kind of awesome. Like things move really fast. We don't spend a ton of time doing any nonsense. There's basically no nonsense. Like we don't have 35 fucking minutes establishing characters who just end up getting stabbed. We get into things like almost immediately. This is one where I'm actually not going to talk about the ending completely because I think it's worth a watch and I don't want to ruin it for anyone who might watch it. It's not so out there that that you need to hear the ending from me or whatever, but I think it's worth watching. So I recommend it. Even though, it comes from a sea of like, there are so many slashers like this, right? Filmed in the woods because the woods is free. And, it's got amateur actors, I assume, and cheap effects. But I think this one has enough charm to pull it off. And it's so lean. And there are some really fun gore effects that look pretty good. It's genuinely funny. All those things kind of mix together. The movie does a lot of things right. And I think that it comes together in a pretty nice way. I will put a little yellow flag here and say, so far I've watched some real bullshit. So, my barometer is fucked up at this point. But even so, I still think it's pretty good. It's also probably something I like because it's got a little bit of Evil Dead flavor, which I think that doesn't usually work in a lot of like cheap movies, right? Because I think a lot of there are so many cheap ass Evil Dead ripoffs, right? Because it's like one of the original indies and it's a movie that somebody made on a low budget and did all that stuff. And it was a huge success. And so then I think people mistakenly are like, well, if I don't have money, that's what I should make. And it's like, well, I don't think that's necessarily the takeaway here. But like I could probably do an entire 31 days of Evil Dead knockoffs, right? That don't even work. I mean, like, let's just look here. I've got someone. Here's one called Bornless Ones. With the help of her friends, Emily moves to a remote home to take better care of her brother, Zach, who is diagnosed with cerebral palsy. But what they don't know is that the house kept a terrifying secret that will haunt them one by one. I'm not totally sure how being in a remote cabin would help someone take care of a guy with cerebral palsy better. I mean, I'm like, are you mistaking this for consumption? Or like, what's going on? But what do I know? I only worked at a cerebral palsy call center for a few years to ask like if people wanted us to pick up their old junk for donations. And I'm being serious. I know almost nothing about CP. Like the worst part of the job was one time I was calling, I did the whole spiel, and someone asked me like, what is cerebral palsy? And I just had to make up stuff because it had never occurred to me to ask. Although I do also think it's like a weakness of the place, the organization, that they're like, do you think we should tell people like what it is if they're going to work here and ask for donations for it? But I mean, everyone who worked there was like, myself included, was kind of a minor fuck up teenager. So, we didn't really care. We were like, I mean, it beats the shit out of McDonald's, so whatever. Here's another one called Wither. Ida and Albin are a happy couple. They set off to a cabin in the vast Swedish woodlands to have a fun holiday with their friends. But under the floorboards waits an evil from Sweden's dark past. So I guess this is like Evil Dead, but make it Swedish, which I guess is Evil Dead, but slightly less scary because, like, if you survive, you won't go bankrupt healthcare-wise. I guarantee you United Healthcare is not covering, Dead by Dawn hauntings or whatever. Here's one called Evil Clutch, which is about a clutching claw, not a failing automobile. It's a 1988 Italian horror film written and directed by Andrea Marfori. The film is about an American college student who joins her Italian boyfriend for a romantic weekend trip. Aww. Along the way, they pick up a voluptuous female hitchhiker who turns out to be a maniacal demon with a ferocious, deadly claw-like hand. Just once, can someone make a horror movie where it's like, the evil demon sorceress witch lady is, she's a 5. The guy is like picks her up and she's like trying to seduce him. And he's like, just purely on a physical level, I actually prefer my girlfriend. I don't know. And not to mention the emotional baggage here, but just physically. Here's a movie called Black Past. I'm going to read you the entire Wikipedia entry because I think it's very funny. Black Past is a 1989 West German splatter film written and directed by Olaf Ittenbach. A shot-on-video film produced on an estimated budget of 10,000 Deutschmarks, whatever the fuck that would mean in dollars in 1989. The plot follows Tommy, a young man who encounters a cursed mirror. There's one other section. Reception. A reviewer for Filmdienst gave the film a negative review. That's the entire reception section. Some guy gave it a negative review. Okay. Well, there you go. Last, I have one called Witchery, which I know nothing about beyond it starring David Hasselhoff. I did also read one of the goofs on this one. When the characters help Jane get up after she wakes up from a nightmare, she stands up too easily for a pregnant woman. That cannot be nearly the goofiest goof from that movie, because if that's the worst thing about that movie, it's made far more competently than everything else I'm seeing about it would suggest. So anyway, after looking at a lot of rip-offs of Evil Dead, I'd go with Ikenie Man. It does a lot of things right. And it's the first movie that I've enjoyed so far in this project that actually made me think this like movie dungeon thing wouldn't be all bad. And the ratio so far is not good. It's still not good. But Ikenie Man is a movie I would actually watch without being forced. So today's rating system, if Evil Dead promised that all the characters would be dead by dawn, I would say Ikenie Man probably kills everyone around 2 or 3 in the morning. It's nowhere near as dramatic as Dawn, but it's pretty respectably late in the evening, if you ask me.
Snowman, Podoween 2025.